Okay, well, we'll go ahead and get started with the last half of our training today. So here we have with us today, backed by popular demand, Miss Lauren Farmeyer.
Hi, guys.
As we know, she is the program coordinator for the Farm to Institution project at the Mizzou Center in Blue Springs, Missouri.
Not Blue Springs. Nope, that's not there anymore.
Oh, not anymore.
Uh-oh. For University of Missouri Extension.
We might let her
Based
introduce
out of
herself.
Columbia. No, it's fine. I didn't even catch that. It's fine.
Okay, well, catch anything else.
No, we're good.
So Farm to Institution involves purchasing and using locally and regionally grown and raised products in schools, hospitals, child care centers, universities, prisons, and other institutional settings. So let's go ahead and welcome Lauren to the front, and you can introduce
Thank you.
yourself.
No, it's fine. I didn't even look, so it's fine. So basically, if you had a giant umbrella and all this food stuff starts raining down, I'm kind of under that right now, and sometimes dodging a little bit. But thank you guys for having me back again this year. I was thinking about my presentation last year, in which I told you quite a bit about like the programmatic things that we do within MU Extension. And a lot of all those programs still exist. They're thriving, they're growing. We have tons of school gardens. We're making new connections with local producers on a regular basis. Just this week, I was working with a businessman from southern Missouri. He received a grant to basically get the funds that he needed to open a food hub that will then sell food, locally grown foods, to schools in the Ozark region. And so from last year to this year, I see this constant evolution of what's happening on the food scene in Missouri. But one of the things that I've noticed is that we still aren't having conversations. And when I get phone calls to, can you come speak to my group? Sure, I'll come have a conversation with your group. Because I think that we learn so much more from each other when we have conversations. Because if you notice, in the work that we do, when we just start talking at folks, that's when walls are built, right? That's when misunderstandings happen. And that's when kind of the train goes off the tracks a little bit, okay? So today I want to encourage you guys, and I always say this, and who's been in one of my talks before? Yeah. I always say, participation is mandatory. And if you don't participate, I'm going to single you out. It's just going to happen. Now that that's on the floor, we can go forward. And actually, I need someone that is strict with time. Jill?
Yeah.
Okay. I need you to give me like a 15-minute warning, all right, before
what?
before I'm supposed to be done.
What's your time you're supposed to be?
I have an hour.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
So I do that because I get really windy really easily. So the first question that I want to ask you guys today is, who is involved in agriculture? Raise your hand if you're involved in agriculture. Really? This is all we have? Okay. Let me ask this again in a different way. Who likes to eat? Who likes to wear clothes? Who likes to drive cars? Who likes to live? Right? All of those things mean that you are directly connected to agriculture, okay? As a professional, when we're out, visiting groups, when we're doing programs, when we are in the community, when we are talking about nutrition, when we are teaching kids about food, when we are preparing recipes with children and adults, the one thing we always have in common is that it always goes back to agriculture, right? So, speaking of agriculture, who likes drama? No. But right now, within our industry, we have more drama than the Kardashians, right? So whether we're talking about GMOs, whether we're talking about certified humane, whether we're talking about hormone-free, pesticide-free, organics, we have so much drama that's building up, okay? Who in here can tell me the difference between organic and conventionally grown food? Just take a stab. It's okay.
No, I guess I don't know how to word this, the decrease of pesticides and other herbicides or whatever that they're using.
The decrease of?
Decrease, I'm not saying a total absence.
Okay. The decrease of? Okay. What else do we have? Jennifer? Yeah, opinions? 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 We have opinions, right? So yeah, so what, in your opinion, what is the difference?
My opinion, well, from what I've read or know, no synthetic fertilizers, no synthetic pesticides, including fungicides, herbicides, insecticides, miticides. All that has to be non-synthetic.
Keep going.
Well, and then you can get into the compost and the manure, and was that from cattle or poultry or sheep that had non-GMO feeds and
Or antibiotics.
And then did they eat grass that was fertilized with synthetic fertilizer? Because to be certified organic, those animals cannot be feeding on those things
Yep.
that have those inputs. So this definition can get pretty deep.
Yes, yes. So a lot of consumers today, when you mention the word organic, right? You mentioned that it was the decreased usage of, okay? Jennifer mentioned that, it's all naturally derived. There's no synthetic uses, things like that. Our consumers' understanding of organic means that there's no spray, okay? When in fact, it's opposite. It's naturally derived sprays, but there's a list of over 100 different types of chemicals that can be used on organic foods. Do we know what some of those are? Nicotine, arsenic. Doesn't sound very healthy, does it? Right? So what we need to look at is you see all these things on social media. We're going to talk a little bit about social media today, but you see all these things on social media about this is healthier, this is better, this is, all of these different mixed messages that when we have families that are 3 and 4 generations removed from agriculture, it's no wonder that we get in fights, that there's so much Kardashian-style drama related around food, right? Did you know one of the label, I think I left off hormone-free? Have you guys seen the label of hormone-free?
Yeah.
Did you know that you can't grow fruits and vegetables without hormones? We think about that. Do we have our clients asking us about what hormone-free means? The understanding of what all of these different terms mean. On a very regular basis, I have, clients. They'll call for like a technical assistance question, and then we'll go into a whole other, discussion about what all of these other things mean. And as an extension professional, as the face of the university, we need to educate ourselves on those terms ourselves, right? Because mixed messages that makes us lose credibility. And so these are things that we're working to uncover so that we can have a consistent message, so that we're clear when even if we're, teaching eating from the garden course and we have a parent that asks a question, these are really important things that we don't necessarily have to have a long list of answers, but if we have some type of clear message to send to those parents, to those kids, to those teachers, to the school board, then it helps open that conversation. Because alienating our customers, alienating the people that we're trying to serve and to help them become healthier and make good choices, it muddies the water.
And educate them on
That's right. So we're familiar with genetically modified crops, right? So we see a lot of labels on our foods that say GMO free, right? This is the list of seeds of products that are genetically modified right now. Now, seeing this, and then seeing what our consumer perceptions are, does this kind of drive you crazy a little bit? A little bit? Yes? No? A little bit? Because while we know we sometimes we'll slant the message a little bit to make it sound one way or another. But the last time I checked, I'm not eating alfalfa. Maybe in like some type of supplement or vitamin or something. But, from a direct consumable standpoint, the crops are very limited, right? But again, we need to understand where the fear is coming from and how it's happening. So I'm sure that this morning you guys were talking about your target audiences, and our friend with beef was here, and we were talking about convenience foods and beef and things like that. I want to talk about millennials. Anybody know anything about millennials? What's that?
Yes, but I'm not a millennial.
Oh.
I hear it from my husband, who is a coach at Truman and has to deal with them on a daily basis.
Right. Well, a millennial falls within the age group that you were born roughly around like 1981 on, okay? Millennials in local food, okay? We're going to talk about buying power and things like that. We talk about how people today are soft, right? Soft. You're talking to a kid that grew up on a farm, like the term soft is not appreciated around. But you know, we talk about our differences a lot, okay? But what we also need to understand is that millennials in general account for $1.3 trillion in business. I don't know about you, but I'd like to have a piece of that pie, right? So I've mentioned all of these terms. We've mentioned consumer perceptions. This is our largest market right now, our millennials. So is it time that we start thinking about how we can reach that audience instead of pushing them away? How can we do that? When we're talking about food, when we're talking about agriculture, how can we do that?
Social media.
Okay? What else, guys? Y'all are awful quiet over here. Notice here when they make their buying decisions, 57% of millennials surveyed say that they tell their friends about their purchases. Oh, you guys see my new cell phone? Oh, look at my new car, right? Word of mouth. That is how advertising happens. 44% show off their purchases, right? Social media, okay? So when we're programming, how can we reach them through these avenues? We know that they have money to spend. We know that in a niche market such as local food that they've got the dollars to spend, right? Because they're basing a lot of this, we're going to talk about emotion. But we also know that they talk a lot about it. So what are ways that we can help shape our message about foods, about nutrition, about agriculture? How can we reach them more? What do you guys think?
Well, I know my parents are learning a lot more about what I teach in the classroom from Facebook postings by the classroom teacher. Most classes have their own
Right.
closed group. I'm doing the same thing whenever I have a gardening program.
Right?
And they become a lot more interested in what's happening. They're just not learning more from the posts.
Right.
They're also asking more questions from those posts.
Right, right. One of the things that I've noticed through my work, we talk about the disconnect that families have to agriculture, right? I mentioned the 3 to 4 generations removed, okay? So we talk about things like progress, okay? How many of you have heard the conversation of you need to move away from the farm, you need to move away from agriculture because this is not the life for you? Raise your hand if you've heard that conversation or had that conversation, right? So with that, we have this generation, but we also have an opportunity now, okay? Here's our millennial diagram. It's not showing up. But with that opportunity is through niche marketing, okay? To get back involved in foods, to get back in agriculture, to bring in this large population of millennials that are soft and they don't understand how life goes. How can we work them back in, okay? Local foods, specialty marketing, things like that are ways that we can help connect. School gardens with our Farm to School program, connecting our schools to local producers to give children agriculture experiences. That's how we can start reining all of this back in. I'm not saying it's a cure-all, fix-all, everything, but this is a place that we could start because we're already reaching out. But we just have to make sure that we're consistent and that we are following through with our messaging. So, like I said, I'm sorry that I thought it was going to translate a little bit better here, but so the top 8 ways millennials advocate for the brands they love. 1, they like it on Facebook. Okay, so we said Facebook. Okay, let's see, they advocate then. All right, they shop in the store, and then down here at the bottom, follow on Twitter. Does anybody do Twitter? I just don't get it. I'm on it, but I just don't get it. I thought maybe it was because I wasn't cool enough for the longest time. There's a new app called Periscope. Have you guys heard of Periscope before? Yeah. Okay. Periscope is like this cool thing. Yeah, I'll tell you all. See, Joe's with it. I'll tell you about Periscope. Periscope is like a live feed. So you download an app onto your phone and you can do live video. And so you're just broadcasting to the world whatever you're doing at the moment. Okay? I think Periscope's going to be something that really starts to grow. I know, right? And then the top ways that millennials discover brands, number 1 is still Facebook. Again, which just kind of throws me off because you see Instagram really starting to gain a lot of traction. I've seen folks base their business off of Instagram now. But if you notice, blogs have dropped down. Blogs are dropping, but we're still getting more and more social. What's the look? I saw a sigh, Jill.
I'm old and I'm having trouble staying up with all this. It's hard, when you are used to communicating in a different way. But I'm trying to stay current. It changes so fast, number 1. Okay, so that part,
Yep.
what's in today is kind of out tomorrow. And with Facebook, I think it's a lot older people on it than younger.
It's getting
people.
that way.
Is
Yes.
that right?
Mm-hmm.
So
It's
these
getting that way.
millennials are really still, it says according to this, though, are on Facebook.
Yep.
That's still a great way to reach them,
Yep.
right?
Yep. What I thought was interesting is they're still relying on friend or family connection. My thought with that, it's right under Facebook. So you get super social media stuff, and then you go directly to a friend or family. Again, I go back to when I mentioned that there are opportunities as a producer. Full disclosure, I'm a farmer, right? I want to be seen as that friend or family member to our customer, right? If they're going to buy food from me, if they're going to buy food from Darla, what better avenue to do that is if they view you as a trusted source. If you can get up there with that.
Is that physical contact with friends or family, or is that friends or family contact in social media?
I don't know that. It's a really good question. I would assume it's probably through personal contact.
Because that could also be things like closed circles, like Google Plus.
Sure.
Or
Yeah, it could be. But what I'm trying to say is there's a direct line right there, right? So you value what your mama has to say. Well, I want to be standing right next to mama, right? When you're talking about a healthy, nutritious product that, your family can eat. My number 1 customer, can you guys guess who my number 1 customer is? Well, moms with kids, but my personal number 1 customer is my 4-year-old son, right? So when we see, again, this local food trend, we see all of these connections making, first thing that comes to a consumer's mind is family, okay? Especially with food. The other thing to remember, too, is when we see and we hear of family farms, well, there's no such thing as family farms anymore because they're all corporations, right? We've heard that. That's common to hear that, right? But here's the other side of the coin. They become corporations to protect their farmland, their family, in a case of something terrible from a liability standpoint happens, okay? So it's these little things, and it's not being afraid to speak up and say that actually So how to approach when you see a millennial out and about. Proceed with caution when you're out and about and around millennials. But really, you know, when you think about how we interact with our clients, with our customers on a day-to-day basis, this goes across the board, right? Reviews from peers mean a lot, okay? Budgeting has become a way of life. I don't know about y'all, but I don't have a money tree in my backyard. That'd be really cool. Can someone figure that out? Like, speaking of GMOs, can we figure that out? Values, value-based purchasing, okay? I want to show you guys something. We're going to pass it around, okay? Pass it around. I have your average, ordinary, everyday head of broccoli, cauliflower. Whoa. 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 I don't know what you had for lunch, but what I had was really, really good. But I'm passing around this average, ordinary head of cauliflower, right? At the grocery store, how much does a head of cauliflower cost? $2.50, $3.
Yeah, on Kirksville, it's 2 something probably.
Okay. And that's coming from a farm in what, like California or?
I was just there, and in my sister-in-law's backyard, she has cauliflower, broccoli, and artichokes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So when you personally are out purchasing food on your family budget, okay, and you have the choice to spend $2.50 on a head of cauliflower from the grocery store, or let's say $3 from someone you know, what are you going to do?
Depends on, that's whether it's convenient.
Convenience?
Yeah.
Okay.
If I have to drive out of my way to go get that, and it's gonna take up more of my day,
Right?
then I'm probably gonna buy it while I'm in the store.
Because it's there.
Right.
Okay.
If I can get it on my way home,
Yeah.
then I'm gonna buy it from my neighbor.
Okay. I heard some chatter over here. You said something.
$3, I'm gonna buy it for my friend.
You're going to buy it from your friend.
$3,
Okay.
only 50 cents fresher.
I would buy a head that big for $3.
Okay. Would you pay more for that?
Be careful how you answer.
That size, yeah, I would spend $3.
Okay. So again, full disclosure, this came from my farm. Okay? Full disclosure, we have a lot of these growing right now, right? But also full disclosure in the fact that I can sell these for $3 a head. Not because the grocery store pricing is $2.50. I can sell these for $3 a head because my customers, your customers, comes from a trusted source, you know where it's coming from. It goes back to values mean a lot more than what we think.
So did you bring enough so we could all buy it?
I thought about it because I have about 1,000 heads out there waiting to be done something with.
Really need to think about that.
But the point is that if I held, you know, your general grocery store head of cauliflower, which there's nothing wrong with it, not saying there's anything wrong with it, I'm looking at it from a values, from a personal connection standpoint. That's the kind of connection that we are making with our customers on a daily basis, okay? Whether we're working with farmers that are trying to break into a niche, you know, some type of niche marketing deal, or whether we're working with kids at a school that have never tried cauliflower before, if you take them something like this that you know is really, really good, and they gobble it up and they go home and they tell their mom and dad that they tried cauliflower at school, what is that going to do, right? I mean, it's even better if you can find it locally, but think about what that avalanche effect begins to take place within our local economies. You spend $1 within your local economy, it goes threefold in the same economy, okay? Think about what that does to the eating habits. My 4-year-old loves raw turnips. He'll go and just eat a white raw turnip because he likes it, right? So imagine if we had this movement where we have all these local foods that are readily available and accessible, and this is the kind of avalanche that starts to happen. I mentioned that I was working with a businessman in southern Missouri, and there was a feasibility study for 9 counties. And guess how many local food dollars are available that people are wanting to spend in that 9-county region in Missouri? Guess. Come on, this is fun.
$1 million.
Go big.
$1 million.
Big. That's not big.
5 billion.
Keep going.
100 million.
No, not that big.
20 million?
40 million available for local food production in 9 counties.
Is that Southwest Missouri?
Maybe.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Springfield
Springfield area.
included.
Right. But again, I go back to it all ties in together. Just like when I asked, who's involved in agriculture? We should all raise our hand. Who's involved in marketing? We should all raise our hand. Right? Who's involved in local food? We should all raise our hand.
Did you go that high tunnel?
No, outside.
in Phil?
Outside.
You know what I noticed, at least with my millennial daughter-in-law?
Yeah?
My granddaughter, that it's an event. It's a fun thing they go do to
Yeah.
go to the farmer's market or the farm
Yep.
to get some fruits and vegetables.
Yes.
So it's more like like an outing, a field trip.
You got it.
To them.
And that is, and I'm getting to that slide, but when we communicate the message, how many of us have seen the Chipotle ads? Down with Chipotle, burn them to the ground. Why do their burritos have to be so good? Right? So we've seen it, right?
Douglas House says he won't eat
What's that? What'd you say?
that. Spouse says he won't eat
That's right. So there's a lot of our agriculture friends that say, I'm not eating there. Right? I don't like what they stand for. And I'm not even going to say that I agree with their marketing. Their marketing is really, really smart. I'm not saying I agree with it. However, I want to bring up a point for you guys. Okay? Chipotle with their ads. How do they supply their restaurants?
I haven't seen their ads. What do their ads?
It talks about non-antibiotic, non-confinement animals, GMO-free, organics, humanely raised. All of these things, which are great things, because what we have to understand is it doesn't have to be an us against them, right? Okay? The idea is to promote choice, because really, when it does come down to it, if you're working on a budget, values do count a lot in how we spend our money. But the other thing that's really important, especially if you're struggling to make it, where can I get the most value from a dollar standpoint, right? But it doesn't have to be an us versus them. It's about promoting choice. It's about being able to have the option readily available. But the one thing that our friends in agriculture that say that they will not eat at Chipotle are missing the point too. Do we know how they're missing the point? Who supplies Chipotle's restaurants? Farmers. Light bulb moment, right? I've had this conversation with a lot of my traditional ag friends, and I see their side. But I also see the side of,
As long as you're giving people the facts and giving them
Right.
choices, it's their money.
right,
So I don't see a problem, with
consumer spending.
Yeah, however they choose.
What drives demand? Basic economics, what drives demand? Oh, not money. Money doesn't drive demand.
Lack of supply?
Nope. Nope. Consumers drive demand. What they want, so what they want is what you're going to supply, right?
They want cage-free eggs, let them have cage-free eggs.
Grow, if I were to grow yellow watermelon, I think they're awesome, right? Love them, okay? If my customer doesn't love yellow watermelon, what would you tell me to do?
You can eat a pot of watermelon.
Yeah, but I'm in business.
Yeah. You better switch
If
back to
my-
red, if that's what they want.
Right, right. But again, we're not drawing these parallels to understanding niche market. We're involved in agriculture. We're all trying to get by without shoving too hard, right? Okay, we're trying to thrive in a business. This is where niche markets, this is where local foods has a
Something like
place.
the beef council's done really well.
Mhm. Absolutely.
The dairy, those checkoff dollars.
Yep.
That money goes to developing and also trying to figure out what the market is.
Yep. Yep. And that's it. And in no way, please do not mistake, I am not downplaying or bashing any type of agriculture. Like, we need it, right? There's a place for all types. But what I'm trying to help you guys understand is that there's always another side. We always have to be thinking. We have to be a step ahead, right?
Cultures are changing.
Cultures are
tremendously.
changing.
I was just in San Francisco and, a lot more people there than your typical Midwestern.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes, there is. So there's a show called Portlandia. Have you guys ever heard of Portlandia before? Okay, so a little background of the show is it's set in Portland, Oregon, right? Where food there tends to be super natural, super organic, super wholesome, hyper local, right? And by hyper local, I mean like yeah, like down the street kind of local food. I saw this and just about died because the reality of what you're going to see in this clip is what's happening right now, okay? And I say this in a tongue-in-cheek kind of way, but these are conversations that, as an extension professional, I have these with people, and they crave to know more, okay? So if we can figure out a balance of transparency within these local food niches, they want to have that agriculture experience, okay? So we mentioned that price doesn't always win, right? And I mentioned the $40 million in demand, right? They want to go pick their own food, okay? That's why school gardens are so successful in our state, okay? We want to get our hands dirty, okay? Farmers markets, we are in like the top 5. We were in the top 10 last year. We're in the top 5 in farmers markets in the United States now. Missouri, like it's totally possible. But even 5 years ago, I wouldn't have dreamt that we would be at this point that we are now, okay? But again, there's an opportunity there. There's the opportunity to grow. I mean, millions of dollars. We know that agriculture is Missouri's #1 industry, and we say that proudly. Well, how can we start to move this into direct consumables as well? Okay? And so we don't have as many people like we have in Portlandia saying, but I want to know that he's eating hazelnuts and has 4 acres of ground to run on, But we have to see that obviously there's some kind of demand for food that's raised that way. And that's okay because it's, again, creating choice. My husband's going to kill me for this. That's he and my little boy just snoozing away. This was taken a couple years ago. My husband snores. And now we're not talking like, the cat in the corner purring. We're talking like shake the wall, snore. And I've tried to tell him, I recorded him, I did this whole, it was to the point I was, he'd had bruises from me, doing the elbow, the roll on the side to do something, right? One day, so my perception, okay, because perception, I have it right here. Perception's reality. My perception is that I am the angel, the delicate flower. I don't snore. I don't burp. I don't do things like that, right? Until, and I had a clip of this, until one morning, he rolls over and says, "You gotta listen to something." Hits play on his phone. It's someone snoring. And we're not talking the cat in the corner purring snoring. We're talking the like man that had a late night kind of snore, right? Now I will say that it was towards the end of like October, like season, so I was really, really tired. But again, my perception is that it was always him. My reality is that it's always him. When all along he's saying, nope, nope, it's not just me, it's you too. It's not just me, it's you too. Well, guess what? It was both of us, all right? So when we are with our customers, when we are with our clients, how they perceive us, how they perceive what this on my sweater says, how we carry ourselves, how we treat them, how we understand, how we listen, how we converse, how we know them and the communities and the people we're trying to help and support, their perception is their reality. And gaining that trust with our customers, when we're helping our farmers, when we're helping our producers grow their business, find those markets, we need to continue to think about how we treat others, how we represent this when we're treating them, right? And how we can help these different types of movements continue the momentum and move forward, okay? Because we're right here, guys, with the local food growth, all those kinds of things. We're working on a local food curriculum, excelling local foods curriculum right now. There's tons of resources that we have built within Extension, and we're here, right? We're at that tipping point. And it's my prediction that when we're looking at local food production and scaling up production in our state, this next year is going to be a lot of fun. Next 5 years, next 10 even. With the popping up of food hubs, do we know what food hubs are? Raise your hand if you know what a food hub is. Joe, what's a food hub?
Oh God, now you put me on the spot. It can be many things, as you've told me.
Yep.
But basically, it's a place where we can aggregate food for distribution.
Yes. Yes. Perfect. So
Be like a local grocery store, right?
yeah, in many technical definitions, and like Joe said, she's like, well, as you've explained to me several times, a farmer's market could technically be a food hub. A grocery store could technically be a food hub. The modern day term of food hub is, yes, where a local producer brings his product and then it's distributed out, okay? So the infrastructure of food hubs, to my best knowledge right now, we are roughly at about 7 different food hub developments happening in Missouri right now, okay? Some of them are like regionally based. Some have little like drop-off points in rural areas that are being developed. So there's lots of different models that are happening. There's a large one being developed in Kansas City right now. So the infrastructure for the movement of all of this food that's happening in Missouri, it's real, it's happening, okay?
More food hubs, the better. So who's got, what state in the United States has got the most food hubs?
Vermont. Probably California has several, but California, and you would think, gosh, that'd be an easy business, like thriving, booming, but actually not so much. There's been some research done that when you're creating these spaces that, you know, you have to look at how much food's actually being grown. You know, especially with Missouri, with the seasonality, you'd have to look at, we have a cold winter, so really how much vegetables can you then sustain a business over the winter for? Yeah, so then you have to look at value added, you know, so freezing and individually, you know, the IQF and things like that, that becomes an option. So yeah, that's, like I said, that umbrella with all that food stuff, like I'm doing this right now.
A lot of our small towns really don't have grocery stores anymore.
Right.
You know, maybe there's a Dollar General where you can buy, you know,
Yep.
not
And
intensely.
unfortunately, I live in a small town, and the
Yeah.
price point is way high, and I get it, I'm willing to pay more money, but a lot of people aren't. They're
Right.
not gonna buy
Right.
vegetables because they have to truck them in.
Right,
because
a lot of
Right.
people
We're
from
so far
Memphis
away.
drive to Quincy even, don't they,
Right.
to grocery shop
Right.
because they can get
And that's really one of the challenges is when you're looking at rural areas, because I've done some studying on like farmers markets in a small town like Memphis. You know, technically, does a farmers market make sense in Memphis because it's so tiny? because when you look at the labor perspective of what it takes for a producer to pick, pack, store, and haul food to a corner and set up shop, is it going to balance out? I don't know, you know.
You've got Dancing Rabbit, and, Red Earth and all that.
Yeah,
Their price point is
really high.
It's so high, most people just don't buy it.
It's unattainable, yeah. And, you know, and I really think that there's a sweet spot, but there are so many other dynamic issues that go into, you know, there's, you know, trying to increase the number of EBT acceptance at farmers markets. I mean, that's an uphill battle in itself. So,
I got a question too.
yeah.
Is that, are those like those, and I never did really fully understand these, but like those co-ops that you buy into?
So that's,
Is that something
so,
you're involved in?
so a co-op that you buy into, so you're thinking of a CSA. So,
Yes.
so a CSA stands for Community Supported Agriculture. And what that is an exchange of money for goods. So you would buy in to a farm, and an ideal model of a CSA is the product coming directly from one farmer, not being sourced from multiple places. Okay, the true model of a CSA is from one farm because it's helping, you know, it's bringing back to that relationship, that experience, all those things that consumers are craving right now. Okay, so you pay in, and then you receive a weekly box or bag, however it's arranged, of what they harvest, of your equal share of what they harvest off of their field. Yeah.
So is that considered like a hub if it comes to a,
I think it is, yeah.
is that something that you help promote too, like when you help set up the farmers markets and that?
You know, CSAs are kind of their own animal because there are so many different types of models. And honestly, with my work in extension, I haven't really dipped my toe in the CSAs as much. There are a lot of farmers that are already doing it in the state of Missouri. There's a lot of CSA farmers starting to crop up. One, because then they're not going to sit at a farmer's market all day, and they know that they have a guaranteed, that's the only way that a local producer can guarantee an income, is by selling a CSA, because they know that on a weekly basis or on a monthly basis that they're gaining income.
Is that usually higher when you buy into one of those? Do you think that
You're paying retail for a product, but it's not, and again, it depends on what your criteria, you know, so they could be in a certified organic farm, which chances are a certified organic producer is gonna maybe ask a higher price point, maybe. You know, it depends on if there's protein, so there's beef or pork or chicken involved with it as well. So there's a whole lot of different variables. What it's gonna come down to is the producer's costs that go into making those goods. It's just like in every other business, you know, think about a hairstylist. You know, they base, you know, kind of on an hourly and, you know, the cost of their goods, whether it's hair color or shampoo or wax for eyebrows, you know.
to a couple people, there's some teachers at one of my schools that they do that.
Mm-hmm.
And she was trying to explain to me that the way they do it is different than the one that my mom used to belong to. So I kind
Right.
of wondered if there was a difference in them.
Yes, there are some,
Setup is
yep, that they, you know, that maybe like a local business or grocery store buys in product from different producers, and then they take all of that food and then they divide it amongst and then sell it basically for retail to their customers. Okay, and then included in there are things like recipes, like this is giant for local food, teaching people how to cook. Okay, you guys noticed that I was asking the gentleman with the beef industry a lot of questions. Okay, it's because a lot of the work that I do for MU Extension and in real life focuses on how do we take a raw food product and turn it into a meal for our family. And so that's why I was asking a lot of questions, because my brain just started firing, you know. But through CSAs, that customer relation, that farmer can share their grandma's, you know, creamed peas recipe with their customer, you know, or their asparagus quiche recipe or whatever it may be, and it draws back that connectedness to them. CSAs are a great model, really great model.
Give her an example of what's going on here in Adair County. There's one producer I know of in Adair County, Dr. Steve Salt. He has done a CSA. I don't think he's done it for a couple of years, but he used to do a CSA. He has several acres in southern Adair County. He charged either $300 or $350, can't remember, but it was over $300 for the season. And then every week, he had 7 customers the last time I knew when he did, he had 7. They paid $300 or $350. Every week, he gave them various things from his farm. He has chickens, he gave them eggs, he gave them herbs, he gave them tomatoes, whatever it was in season.
Yep.
And he did that from the time of the start of the growing season, because he has high tunnels and he can grow things as early as, March. So he would start early and he would go clear to the first hard freeze. So like, I don't know, October, November. So they'd pay $300, $350, and for what, 6 months out of
That's
the year?
cheap.
He was giving
so
them,
cheap.
He was giving them vegetables.
That's cheap.
But here in Adair County, he was paying $300 or $350. So yeah, you go to St. Louis, I think I've heard of somebody charging $600
At
per
least.
month, double, at least, yeah. I noticed he was only charging $3 or $350. Maybe it was $350.
That's a heck of a value. If he's still doing it around this area, I'd do that.
I don't know if we could get, if people would pay more than $350 here in this
They will.
area.
They will.
Will they?
We'll talk.
Okay.
But when we're talking about our millennial group, when we're talking about young people and how they spend their money, the next wave, you guys have Hy-Vee. You're fortunate enough to have a Hy-Vee in this area. The next wave of purchasing food is going to be direct door. Like Hy-Vee, you can buy your groceries and they'll have it bagged up and they'll just bring it to your house for
My
you.
daughter does that.
Yep.
In California.
Yep.
I said, okay, now that's getting bad.
But
Well,
that's
they deliver laundry now. She goes, ooh, now you can buy your groceries online and they'll deliver it.
Yep.
She did it.
Yep.
And she orders those kits that come in the mail.
Yep.
With the meat, the vegetables, and
Yep.
the rice to make
That-
the meal.
that is the next. That is what you're going to see happening within the next. That's the next phase within food purchasing production. It's going to be it goes from farmers markets, which a producer, if they're serious about growing and continuing on, hopefully they're not growing for a farmer's market for a lifetime.
But that's
You
funny
know-
because it's like my country is like that way.
Right.
So it's like you're coming back to your
Roots.
roots, yeah?
Yep.
Because like I was there in December and I say, oh, I want to have this one for breakfast. I'll just call. Okay, hello, I want some coffee. And there is somebody bringing you the coffee and the
Really.
bread. Yeah.
And that's see.
And I say, oh, what do you want to eat today? So beans, but we don't have plantains. Oh, it's okay. Can you bring me just plantains? And I need a pound of tomatoes and lettuce and things like that. And like 10 minutes later, there's somebody in there. And just in the bicycle.
It's the wave. It's the wave of the future. Like I said, you hope to help a producer grow to the point where they get out of selling to farmers markets and they can then start selling into a hub or a CSA model or some other type of business to where it becomes a more substantial income. To then I can see it going into this hub business to the direct to consumer. So the growth of that CSA movement is, and think about food in general. Think about food movements. It comes from the outsides in. So think about the New Yorks, the Vermonts, the Californias, the Oregons. It goes from outside in. And really CSAs were really, starting to really grow and be hot about 10 years ago out there. And guess what's happening here? So does anybody have any more questions for me? Because I know I got to be wrapping up. Yes, dear.
Oh, produce auction.
Yes. Produce auctions, yes. So she mentioned produce auctions. So produce auctions, a producer that maybe grows more than they can maybe sell at a farmer's market, or maybe they just grow specifically to sell and it's an Amish or Mennonite-based market, and you take it. The only risk with that is that you have no idea what you're going to get out of your product. One day you can take a box of tomatoes and you get $50 a box, and then you could take it next week and get $2 a box. So it's not a very stable market, but it's really fantastic for schools to get involved with trying to buy at a market like that. Down towards Kansas City, there's a food service director that goes to a produce auction in Windsor, and she basically sets their market for them because she knows what she would pay off of a truck, you know, for tomatoes that's been shipped in, and it's a lot higher than what you can get them at the auction. So she'll pay for them and gladly pay for them because she knows where it's coming from and it's a locally sourced product. Yes.